Being a teacher is not easy. I know, understatement of the year. Teachers juggle test score pressure and parent expectations, not to mention a classroom of 20 to 30 young people who would rather be anywhere else. It is easy to get overwhelmed and miss the forest for the trees. That's why we're here. We're getting to the root of the issues facing educators today, connecting teachers with experts, and finding resources and solutions. Through conversations with our guests, and hopefully you as well, we'll all learn and grow together. From the little saplings to the wise old oaks, this is Growing the Forest and the Trees, Big Pictures and Everyday Realities, a podcast from the College of Education and Behavioral Sciences at Troy University. I'm Dr. Shirley Farrell, Gifted Education Program Coordinator, here with my co-host, Dr. Lisa Etheridge, a classroom teacher of 24 years and an associate professor in the Department of Teacher Education. Schools in Jefferson County are doing things differently, and it all starts with School Superintendent Dr. Walter Gonsoulin. He was named National School Superintendent of the Year in 2025. Under his leadership, Jefferson County Schools has seen a 357% increase in the number of students that earned industry credentials, indicating that those students possess the qualifications for entry-level employment. College and career readiness rates have steadily increased, and the number of scholarships offered to Jefferson County students has also grown. So how did he do it? We'll find out today on Growing the Forest and the Trees. We would like to welcome Dr. Gonsoulin from Jefferson County Schools. We are so excited that you're with us. Can you share a little bit about your journey into education and what led you to become a superintendent?
Well, this is my 36th year in education, and 36 years ago, I graduated from college in business and counseling, interpersonal counseling and communication. I really thought that I was going into the business field, and I was working as an assistant manager at Shoetown. And I thought I had all of my plans and dreams, planned out. But then I have an older cousin. She had already been at the time. She had already been in education 25, 30 years. And she visited me there at the store, and I began to tell her everything that I was doing, and she listened patiently. But then once I finished, she asked me a very important question that I still remember today. She asked me, "So what are you doing here?" And I did not understand that question. I was like, I thought you was going to be proud, but you asked me what am I doing here? And she invited me to her home that Sunday for Sunday dinner. And she introduced me to several of my relatives on my father's side of the family who were educators, principals, assistant principals, and their wives were teachers and supervisors at the district level. And she was also a supervisor at the district level. She told me I had education in my blood and asked me if I would consider that as a career. And I think 3 weeks later, I was teaching in the 6th grade elementary classroom.
Wow, that was quick.
That was really quick. She had the position and the influence and they needed teachers at that particular time. That was the start of my educational career, and I fell in love with it. I was assigned students who were at least 2 grade levels behind, and here it is. I was a young novice teacher, and we grew together that year, and I fell in love with the field of education.
Oh, that is such a heartwarming story. And what influence your cousin had on you for you to go ahead and leave Shoetown, a job you had, and you knew your future there, and to just head into the unknown. You took the risk, and it has paid off, not just for you, but for every child and teacher you have touched as well.
It was definitely a great moment, and She is still alive, and her name is Mrs. Virgie Osbury. And she served in the field of education for 67 consecutive years.
Wow. Oh my
She's still
goodness.
my she's still my mentor. 91 years old.
Oh, I love that. Well, I hope she
Right.
gets to hear the podcast and hear her name on the radio. And
Yes,
we
ma'am.
thank her for her service and what she has done for children in educating them in Alabama.
I'll make
So,
sure she gets a copy of it.
oh, good, good. Um, when you think about educational opportunity, because I have heard that is really your platform, what you really want to provide are educational opportunities. What does that mean for the students in your school district?
When I first became a superintendent in 2012, I came to Alabama. I was superintendent of Fairfield City Schools. It didn't take me long to understand that according to a child's zip code, that child could experience an education that was very different from another child's education in another zip code with a different income level. And so, right then and there, I was convinced that we had to figure out a way to erase this zip code issue and provide as many educational opportunities for children regardless of the zip code in which they live. When we talk about education opportunities, it's to provide as many different choices for children and their families that they can be interested in, and one that could lead to a great career and life for those children. In Jefferson County, when I think it was 2012 and to 2017, we started seeing this competition statewide. And what I mean by competition, this term school choice. So then we had charter schools to come in. We also had vouchers to come in. And by the time I became the superintendent of Jefferson County Schools, I looked around and I said, we have 57 schools. I think that we could provide school choice through educational opportunities for our children, and to where a zip code would not matter, that children would have high interest, high wage programs that they could attend, such as JROTC, dual enrollment programs, international baccalaureate schools, signature academies, our Academy of Craft, just different things that children, and we put them in 4 zones, and then children get to look at those things. They learn about them early on in their educational career, and then they get to choose which option, which pathway that they would like to have. I have a team that's dedicated to just that, finding educational opportunities that children would be interested in, high interest, high wages opportunities.
That is excellent. You don't know what you don't know until you don't know it. And if you don't know what possibilities, opportunities, careers are out there, and if it's an interest of yours, you never pursue it. So you're helping these students to figure out who they are.
That's
So
right.
you mentioned the was it Academy of Craft?
Academy of Craft, that's one of them, and
What
signature
is
academies.
that?
The Academy of
Go.
Craft is a partnership. Our, the state, we have 2 of our people on loan as a principal and a counselor. That is a state-run program, and the business industry, such as electricians, plumbers, welders, bricklayers, any type of industry that's in the area, they assign their trainers to those centers, and they work alongside with the children, with their teachers, and these children are engrossed in the trades, and they work so closely along with the business industry that it leads them directly straight to a job and to a career, because they're already working in these internship programs, learning how to lay bricks, learning the electrical skills and credentials, the building skills, and it's a very fascinating program.
That is fantastic. That I am so excited about that.
That's amazing.
Last year alone, we had, I think, 35 children to exit out of one of the programs, and they signed job contracts with no less than 45,000 all the way up to $72,000 a year as 17 and 18-year-olds.
That's incredible.
Wow.
So I want to expand a little bit about partnerships. So you have these partnerships with your community businesses and community colleges and universities in the local area. How do you go
Yes.
about building those partnerships? How does the beginning look like for y'all? Because obviously what you're doing is working. If you're graduating that many students and they are graduating and the next day they're signing contracts and going to work, it's just an incredible partnership. And I would like to hear more about how you built that.
Being very intentional in terms of relationships, having meetings with those different partners, inviting those partners to come see what we are doing in our school system, being a part of their environment and climate as well to understand their needs. We're big on educational opportunities, but we're not void of educational research and research within itself. And so we partner with the Jefferson County Economic Development Center, and what they do is they tell us all of the jobs that are available within a 50-mile circumference area. And why are we looking at that 50-mile circumference area? It's because we've also done research and we find out that many of the children, about 71% of all children that live within Jefferson County, when they graduate, 71% of them move and live within a 50-mile circumference area. So if they're already here, then we, again, are going to be very intentional about what they will be qualified to do if they're already living here once they graduate. And so then we work with the Jefferson County Development Group, and we identify those companies. We identify those 2- and 4-year universities that are willing to work with us, and we have conversations about programming. And we find out their needs. So for example, in the business world, we knew that the research was telling us that there are 5 clusters, of high vacancies in jobs. It's high wage and high interest. The healthcare industry is one of them. And so we invited and sat down with all 15 hospitals, representatives from all 15 hospitals within that 50-mile circumference area. And we had a conversation about what are your needs and in terms of employment. And they told us 4 years ago that their biggest need was PCTs. They had a lot of vacancies. And I explained to those partners in that cluster that we graduate 2,600 students a year, and we could fill that gap. We could fill that need. We put a program together with their help, with their input. And 4 years later, well, this is the 5th year, we are graduating 150 children a year in PCTs.
That's incredible. You really get to know your students and you get to know your community, and you're fulfilling
Yes.
both of their needs. That is what every school system should be doing. That is fantastic.
Right.
That's amazing. Well, I'm going to just say kudos to y'all for that. I would love to come see it in person, because that just, it excites me as an educator. I don't have quite as many years in as you do, but as an educator, our ultimate goal is to help our students be successful. And that is sounds like exactly what you're doing. And so kudos to you for that. I'm going to shift gears now and talk about how you support teachers and your school leaders. How does your district support teacher recruitment, retention, as we know that is a main kind of issue that we in the education world we're consistently dealing with? And then how do you deal with the professional growth, the professional opportunities that are available for your teachers?
I'll start with the same thing that I said with the business community. It's about relationships. You have got to know the people that you're working alongside with, the people that you're serving, so that you can support them. So there are many ways, once we have teachers, that we attempt to do that. The first thing is I have a faculty advisory group, which is one teacher from every school, typically the teacher of the year from the previous year. And we meet every quarter. They meet with me, and we have discussions about what's going on in the district, how they're feeling about the initiatives, upcoming initiatives, get their input about what they're seeing, what the initiatives that we do have, how they're working, how's it, is it user friendly, is it working for them and their students, and so we get their input on that. When they're sitting with the superintendent, they are the people who are boots on the ground, so they're telling me exactly if I got a Read 180 program in the schools, they're telling me, hey, Doc, that Read 180 program, we might want to consider some other things because it's not user-friendly for the children, or it's the best thing we ever had. You'd be surprised how just getting their input works. But then that's also an opportunity for me to cast a vision with them and to be able to tell them, like when we first started, the concept of educational opportunities and school choice for public schools, they were in the magnet school programs that we were going to do. They were so interested in it, and they had a lot of questions. And so for a whole year, we talked about those things, and they went back and they met with their faculty and staff and came back and met with me, and we walked through it together. The other way is, even if faculty members at the end of the year, if they exit for whatever reason, if they leave our district, we want to do exit surveys that are very confidential so that we can measure, why are you leaving? How could we have met your needs? Now, if you're moving because of your spouse got a job, we understand, or you're retired, we understand. But anyway, we want to understand your feedback. And we also do climate study surveys within the school year. We call them touch points, engagement surveys. How are you feeling at this time? And we're able to take that data, and they are very honest. We can break it down by the district and by schools. They're very honest about how they are feeling about what the work that we're doing, how they're feeling about their job. But that has to result into something that they could see. A couple of years ago, when we started talking about education opportunities, the surveys clearly told us that the teachers wanted choice too. They wanted to be able to choose whether they could get into these magnet programs. They wanted to be able to choose, and so we created that portal for them. You could have sworn that we gave them a 5% raise. So that's to retain them, but to recruit them, we send people out to the different universities. Right now, we are partnering with the University of Alabama at Birmingham, UAB, and they're going to put a satellite campus onto Centerpoint High School, and we're going to do a teaching academy there where 200 students will be involved, and they will be duly enrolled in UAB and also our high school, and they come from all over the county. And when they finish, they have the credentials to be a paraprofessional, and we would have paid their entire school. Then we're going to give them a job. We're going to offer them a job, and as a paraprofessional, and the university is going to work with us so that they can go back to school for those other 2 years, so that they can get their teaching degree. Starting young, establishing. Growing our own, but establishing relationships and pouring back to them. Professional development, I'd have to look at my budget to tell you how much we pay for professional development, and that's on everything. For example, all of the districts around the state and around the nation, they're talking about AI. And we sat down with our group because they understand that we don't really engage in things that we don't prepare our teachers for. So right now, as I'm speaking and doing this podcast, we have our E-team leaders. They're here learning about the Gemini AI. Then we got a plan to roll it out to our principals, then a plan to roll it out to our teachers. Because we not only want to do AI, but we want to do it responsibly and safely.
That's
And
correct.
and we follow that same format in our academic world. We are opening up a PYP, that's the International Baccalaureate School for grades kindergarten through fifth grade. We've been doing PD now for a year and a half with those teachers who are going to teach there. And we do the same thing throughout the year. We're working with them, providing them those professional development opportunities.
I love how you seem to think outside of the box. You think creatively, but at the heart of that thinking outside of the box, it comes back to building the relationships and meeting the needs. And that is your
And
core focus, but yet you're using that to think strategically and how you can reach new people to recruit and bring in and then retain them and grow them professionally. I think it's awesome.
in Jefferson County, I've always had this ideology, and I brought it to Jefferson County, and I told them, I said, listen, under my tutelage, we're going to help you to develop a mindset. That mindset says we don't think inside the box, we don't think outside the box, we think as if there is no box. And
That's
so
amazing.
we're constantly trying to identify the boxes that we are operating in so we can eliminate them, and then stretching ourselves to go beyond what we're used to so that we can get to the things that we didn't know existed. And then at the heart of that, like you said, it's about serving people. It's about serving children. It's about, our teachers, we serve them as well. My central office, we have to be aware that we have to serve them too. So that we can get the best human potential out of them. I think when people know you care and they know that their school district will provide this for them and serve them in this way, they will perform, the teachers and the students.
Yes, you value them and they know that. That's why you're
Yeah,
getting those honest survey answers because they know you're listening to it. It's not just here's another box to check off that we've done. You're actually
right.
taking it and making the changes, and the teachers value that. I love it that you're giving them choice as well.
Absolutely.
That is very exciting. And your comment about there is no box, we use that in
Yes, sir.
gifted education. I'm going to send you some of the stickers we have that our state
Oh, I would
gifted
love that.
organization has been using.
Yes, I would love to do that. And we do the same thing with the students. I follow that same model of teacher advisory. We do a student advisory, and those special young people from the third grade to 12th grade. I meet with the elementary first. Well, we have 30 elementaries, and we have two representatives from every school, and they meet with me once a quarter, and we have discussions about their educational experience and their
I love it.
educational career. And then at the high school and middle school, we do the same thing. Two students. They don't like to be called children at that level. Two students. They don't. They remind me of that. And so two students two students from every school, and we talk about everything. This past session was about student voice and how to use that to motivate your fellow peers and get them motivated and encouraged to take the standardized test that's coming up, and what
I
it
love it.
means to represent your school in a very responsible and professional way. And each one of those children, and we're talking over 120, 130 children, from third grade all the way to 12th grade, if you ask that child, what is your school score, report card score, they'll know it. What are you doing to ensure that there's growth at your school? And they'll talk about a project that they're doing for that
You're
particular
growing
area.
leaders.
Yep, growing leaders, that's right.
Yes. Oh
It's
my goodness.
amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Yes.
So, looking ahead, I'm just going to kind of somewhat jump a little bit. Looking ahead, what opportunities do you hope will exist for students in Alabama over the next 5 to 10 years?
I just read an article in the New York Times that said, it talked about the Southern Surge, which is the achievement, student achievement that's going on in Alabama was listed, having been number one in math recovery in the nation since COVID. Number one, Mississippi with their third grade scores, a Mississippi Miracle, which is not a miracle because it's not a one-time thing. It's becoming, it's a part of the performance. In Louisiana, with the seventh grade students out, having the best achievement nationwide. And so when I look at education in Alabama, I would like to start with its student first in saying that the education world, we can dictate what the future is going to be for communities by the education that we provide. We just finished building, and our children are going to walk into an $80 million international baccalaureate aero space school on Monday. And when you go in there are simulators. These children are doing things that, I could only just sit in awe. They're using drones, and we're building a career for these children that will allow them to advance economically, this county economically, and put them in a place where it recruits jobs. I'm talking about the state, where we recruit the effective jobs here in Jefferson County, and we're a place where families could come and know that their children will be exposed to an educational experience that is rich and children are learning. And we could do that whether we want to do aerospace, whether we want to do the military, whether we want to do the healthcare or whatever. But we're dictating, the educational experience is dictating in a positive way what our communities will be. We will shape what the community will look like in 10 years. It won't be the other way around.
We always say that we are preparing students for a future and we don't know what the jobs are, but you're already envisioning what those jobs could be and already have pathways for the students. That is fabulous. What are some of the greatest challenges currently facing public education in Alabama?
One of the challenges is the competition for funding, which is, the voucher program and the pop-up of charter schools. And that is a challenge. Right? But being a coach of 15 years, I don't know, I just like competition. I like challenges. And I do, and I also like to win. So, that's why I tell our faculty and staff in our community, it is not an option for us not to have educational opportunities because we've got to compete. We've got to compete to provide the best educational, experience, kindergarten to 12th grade, that people want to be in your school district as opposed to they have to be simply because of their zip code and where they are. We are far beyond that. And so that's why we do the education opportunities. The second thing that I think that we face is the teacher shortage. And again, I think that has to do with bringing value back to our profession. I love being an educational as a professional. I think we work in the most reputable profession in America, but we have to perform as such. And so When you provide an educational system that is built upon respect and valuing people and showing them in just more than just lip service, but how you treat them. One of the things that, man, I don't know, I'd have to live almost 200 years, and I'm trying to do too much, but one of the things, we really got to look at benefits for our educators. Every other company does it. What are those benefits that we're providing them, and really pouring into them to where they could feel valued? And it's more than just lip service. It's financial. It's making them better professionals. The thing that hurt, I took my 16-year-old daughter to see the Michael Jackson play here in Birmingham this past weekend.
I heard it was fabulous.
Oh man, it was outstanding. We had a great time. But while I was there, I ran into 3 of my teachers who were working at night, and they were working reputable jobs. I mean, they were cleaning. They were selling the concession stands. And while it was so good for me to see them, and I went and talked to them, my heart went out to them because they're going to get off of work about 10:30, and then have to be to work at 7:30 in the morning. And I don't know, my heart went out to them that financially they're in a position where they have to work another job late at night. We want to address that, and I think our profession really needs to understand that in many cases that's inappropriate. We have to find a way to where we could pay people so that they could do this job, and then they don't have to stress themselves in other ways.
I've always said we are the profession that makes all other professions possible, but the community, I think some in the community see it that way, but I think just from an outside perspective looking in, they don't see that. And I totally agree with you. It's not a 8 to 3 job. You don't come in and clock in at 8, clock out at 3. We go and work tirelessly at home. We work on the weekends. We buy stuff for our classrooms out of pocket. We give and we sacrifice so much so our students can be successful. And I cannot say kudos enough about that last statement.
Yes. One job should be enough.
It should be enough. It really should, especially that job. Because like you just explained, they're going home and work, and they're working the weekend. That's just to continue to do the teaching job. Then on top of that, some of them have to go to another job. No, I don't think so. We've got to find a better way for that.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes. And as you said, teachers have always been one of the most respected professions, and we've kind of somehow dropped off everyone's radar, and we need to bring it back to their attention.
Yeah, we need to bring it back because that professionalism and that dignity, it's in the people that I serve with. When I walk through the halls, I see it, right? And so, we've got to continue to uplift that. That's our responsibility, to live and behave as professionals, right? And kind people. But we've got to tell our story and let our community and our state know just how valuable and important we are to the well-being of the state and the country.
If listeners could take away one message about public education and opportunity in Alabama, what would you want them to remember?
I want them to remember this one statement, that public is the choice, that public school is the choice. I hear a lot about choice and, providing people with opportunities. Listen, public schools, if you come to Jefferson County, we'll show you what choice looks like. We'll show you what opportunities look like. And with the other school districts around this, the state of Alabama, people are doing amazing things and offering amazing educational opportunities. And that somehow is overlooked as well. And also for the rest of the nation, I coined this phrase when I was competing for the National Superintendent of the Year, because in the 37 years that competition existed, Alabama had never had a national superintendent winner. So when I went to Arlington, Virginia, I was determined to let this nation know that as it relates to education, Alabama has something to say. We're doing some great things, and we have things to share, and we have results and achievement to show that. And I think I did a good enough job, because in the end I won.
And I'm so glad you did.
Yes, thank you.
We have great things going on in this state. And I'm excited. I'm excited to keep hearing about what's going on in Jefferson County and the great things that y'all are doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you, my friend. And again, keep doing what you're doing so that we can keep spreading the word. Thank you so much.
Our guest today has been Dr. Walter Gonsoulin, Jefferson County Schools Superintendent. We hope you'll share this podcast with the teachers in your life and give us a review or rating on the podcast platform of your choice. Growing the Forest and the Trees is a production of Troy Public Radio and the College of Education and Behavioral Sciences at Troy University. For Lisa Etheridge, I'm Shirley Farrell. We'll see you again next time on Growing the Forest and the Trees, the big picture and everyday realities.